Welcome to River Lake Church. My name is Nick. I'm the pastor here. We are so glad you're here. We believe the church should be relevant, simple, and real. I want to welcome all those watching online with us this morning. We are starting a series entitled Let Hope In. There was a story of a boy who was badly injured as a child. He was about 8 or 9 years old, and he went to the hospital, and he was part of a large inner-city school, and the school had a program to make sure that kids didn't get behind, because if you've ever been in school and you get behind, you kind of know what that does and how that can cause problems. And so they asked the substitute teacher to kind of go and spend some time with this boy in the hospital and help him with his nouns and adverbs. And so she shows up, and no one had told her what had happened to the boy. The boy was severely burned. And so she shows up and is very shocked by his face and what he looks like and everything like that. And it doesn't go as well as she had hoped. He can't respond quite as well. He can't communicate like he wanted to. And she gets very frustrated, kind of gets through the whole day, and then leaves. A few days later, she comes back, and the nurse looks at her and says, "What did you do?" And the substitute teacher, feeling as though she had done something wrong, responds and says, "Well," and she starts making excuses, and "I don't know, it just kind of caught me off guard." And she goes, No, you don't understand. All of a sudden, we don't know what happened. But before you showed up, he wasn't responding to treatment. He was getting worse. He wasn't communicating with us. He wasn't eating. He wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. And ever since that you showed up, he's responded to treatment. He's getting better. And he just seems as if he's fighting for what he wasn't fighting for. "What did you do?" And she goes, "Listen, it's a train wreck. I don't know." So a few weeks go by. She keeps coming by, working on his nouns and adverbs and all that kind of stuff like that. And he starts to be able to talk once again. And they ask him, they said, "Listen, hey, for a while there, listen, your symptoms weren't death-causing, but we weren't sure it was going to work. We weren't sure what was going on. You were fading fast. What happened? What changed for this little boy?" And it took the boy a little while to kind of process it and kind of do it. And he says, "Listen," he says, "I realized that they wouldn't send a teacher to help a little boy learn his nouns and adverbs if he was just going to die." And that is the power of hope. That's what happens in so many of our lives. The circumstances don't matter. The treatments didn't change. The doctors didn't change. The nurses didn't change. Nothing changed for that little boy. The only thing that changed in his life was how he saw it, was hope. Was how am I going to make it? Because for that little boy and for us too, there are things that happen that kind of derail us in life, right? We grow up and we want to be difference makers. We want to impact the world. Most young little boys and girls, we want to rescue the princesses or change the world or change the company or start something or go to the moon or be a doctor or a lawyer. We want to change stuff. We really believe that we're going to do great things. We're going to impact the world that we live in. And stuff happens, right? For that little boy, I don't know how it impacted him. But all I know is he was growing up and he had a kind of vision for his future, and something happened. He was severely burned and it changed his future. You've had the same thing happen, right? You had ideals in your mind when you were younger of what your marriage is going to look like or what your finances are going to look like or what you're going to do with your job or your career. Maybe you're in high school or you're in middle school and you have those dreams, so you're still holding on to them. You're going, "Listen, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to college and I'm going to find the right person. I'm going to change the world that I live in. That's my goal. I'm going to change things. I'm going to impact people. People are going to listen to me. People are going to follow me. It's going to be great." We grow up wanting to change the world. And yet, much like this boy, every single person in here, young and old, you've had things happen to you. You've had things happen to you that kind of derailed your future, kind of derailed your impact. And there's two types of things that happen to us. One of them is, for some of you, you've had things happen to you that kind of derailed the ideals and derailed the impact. You had things happen to you when you were younger. You were abused physically, sexually, emotionally. You were abused. You had things happen to you in job markets, and you had bosses or maybe friends look at you and go, "You're not good at that," or "You'll never be good at that," or "You're not going to be successful." You've had teachers maybe say some negative things to you. You've had parents maybe not believe in you or maybe just random circumstances. You've had things maybe like this boy that just an accident happened. And it wasn't by anybody's fault. It wasn't because anybody was mad at you or whatever. Just something happened. It was a loss of a friendship, a loss of a loved one, just an outside external circumstance that kind of derailed the impact, derailed the hope that you had in you to be a difference maker. And you're different now. You're okay, maybe, but you're different. And some of you in a room like this, Your impact, your difference maker ability, your future hope wasn't derailed because of outside circumstances. It was derailed because of what you did. That you had ideals for your marriages or your finances or your relationships. You had ideals that you were going to do great things, and it wasn't anybody else. It was you. That you have a habit. You have a problem. You have an issue. You make and you maybe even call it a mistake. And there was a moment in your relationships or whatever that is that kind of derailed the hope, that kind of derailed the future, kind of derailed where you were going and the fact that you want to be a difference maker with your relationships or whatever. You just kind of had a moment, and it's not anybody else's fault. It's your fault. And so we're starting this Christmas season, and we're starting this initiative, Let Hope In, because I believe this, and here's where we're going to go for the next several weeks. Wherever you're at, whatever you've done, whatever's been done to you, or whatever you've done, whatever you're doing, God has an amazing plan for you. If you can let hope in. If you can shift, because it's so easy, isn't it so easy? Especially when you get a little bit older. It's so easy to kind of let hope drift away. It's so easy to kind of give up on things. We've got this saying, and maybe you say it, I say it all the time, but it's like the most meaningless, worthless statement in the world. We say things like, it is what it is. Anybody ever said that? Bunch of liars. Oh yeah, all of you said that. Just kidding. No, we say that. It's the most meaningless thing, but here's what we're saying. I have no hope for it. That's what people that don't have hope are. It's just kind of, you've kind of given up hope. It just kind of is what it is. My job, it is what it is. My relationship, it is what it is. My marriage, you know how spouses are, kind of is what it is. And something happened. Because you didn't start that way. You didn't on your wedding day start like that. You didn't start your new job with that attitude. I mean, you didn't get up on your very first day, on your first day of your new job after you graduated college or whatever you did, and however you did that, you go, just is what it is. No. You started with hope. Every one of us were born into hope. And yet there are things that happen that if we're not careful, will rob us of our hope, because hope changes everything. And so today, I want to look at a passage of Scriptures. John chapter 4, if you got a Bible, I want to encourage you to open up the Bible. If not, we're going to put it on the screen for you. But John chapter 4, it's not your normal Christmas story. I get that completely, okay? We're starting in an odd place. I mean, most good churches, they start in the right place. We're going to start in John chapter 4. That's okay. We'll get there eventually, I promise, in the beginning. But today, I want to look at a story that I really believe epitomizes the purpose of Jesus and why, in this Christmas season, during the next several weeks, you should walk with a difference. You should walk and understand that you can be a difference maker. So John chapter 4, here we go. It says this. Now we had to go through Samaria. When he says he, it's Jesus. Jesus had to go through Samaria. And that's an important phrase because Samaria was like not a great place. It was a place where they kind of viewed them not as positive people. As a matter of fact, if you could just right now, I want you to do something. Figure out the people that you don't like the least. Okay? Or that you like the least. Yeah, I said that wrong, didn't I? Okay, whatever. Just you get my son. Figure out them, okay? You like them, kind of. You don't hate them because you learn the Bible. You're not supposed to hate somebody, and you're kind of like, oh, they'll be in heaven, but just not on my side of heaven. Like they'll be way over there kind of deal. Like, what is that people group that you're kind of like, Like I see them, I hear about them. Could be a religion, could be a race, could be whatever, could be, where they live, could be people in Alabama. I don't know, just, whatever that is. I don't like people from Alabama. So anyway, the point is, Samaria is Alabama for me, all right? Jews didn't like people from Samaria. It says this, so he came to a town in Samaria called Sychar, near the plot of ground Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Good Jews don't go through there. Good Jews walk around. And it says Jesus had to go through there. He goes on, next verse. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about noon. Now, this is so important, okay? I mean, it just feels like one of those, like, what I call them throwaway verses, kind of like just a little detail that really doesn't make a lot of sense. But here's why this is really, really important. And this is really super deep. So ready to write down notes? It's hot at noon, right? They're in the desert. Nobody wrote that down. I'm shocked. But it's important to understand, at noon, in the desert, it's hot. It's about as hot as it gets, noon in the desert. Jesus is walking. Says he's tired. Sun's beating down on him. Middle of the day. Been walking for a while. Comes this well. Sits down. It's 12 p.m. sharp. Next verse. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water. Now, again, we read this and we're kind of like, okay, cool. Yeah, move on. This is an incredibly important detail. Here's why. Samaritan women, or just women in general, didn't draw water at noon. You know why? Because it's hot. We already talked about that. You're not paying attention, okay? You got to be quicker than that, all right? No, really what would happen is this. In the culture back then and there, all the women of the town together would get up early, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, when it's cooler, when the sun's not out, when it's okay. They would go together in community for multiple reasons, because they would be in community for just talking, for safety, if you need help, just a whole bunch of things. They would go together early in the morning, they would get the water, and they would come back, and they'd have hot water for the whole day. That's not what she's doing. No. It says that she came in noon by herself, alone, risking being harmed. Because if she's mugged, if she's robbed, if she's beaten up, if she's grabbed, killed, no one would have a clue. She's by herself. Not asking, not needing, or not wanting help. Avoiding community. Avoiding impact, avoiding conversations. Avoiding. There's something in her past. There's something in her past that is affecting her present in a way that all of us can relate to at some point. Because again, every single one of us in here this morning, we have things in our past. We have things that have happened to us or we have happened to them, and they affect our present. They affect what we do. They affect where we go. And maybe you're in here today and you're like, yeah, there's just certain people, Nick, like I avoid them at work. I show up late at work, or I go in early. Why? Because I just don't want to run into that person. I just don't want to go there. I just don't want to see that person. I just don't want to be there. Maybe it's in your marriage. There's certain things that you do, and you just kind of avoid topics. It's not about a location per se, but it's about a spot in your relationship and a conversation. You kind of avoid those things. Why? Because there's something in your past. And because of what happened in the past, it's kind of messing everything up. This is her world. We haven't discovered yet what has happened, but my point is, her world is much like our world. That she grew up as a young girl thinking, I'm going to be a difference maker. She got hopes, she got dreams. And now she finds herself, and we don't know how old she is, but we're going to get a detail here in a few moments that would allude me to she's probably a little bit older. She's probably not a teenager, probably not in her 20s, probably a little bit older than that. And she's by herself, alone, avoiding everybody. So much so that she's willing to risk pain, suffering, being killed, maimed, and suffering through great heat because of something that's happened in her past. It goes on. Jesus said to her, will you give me a drink? Which is always odd to me. I mean, I don't know. I just maybe not for you, but I'm just thinking, like I grew up in a world where like you don't do that, but could you just imagine Jesus is sitting there. He's sitting there for a while. She walks up. She's got a big old heavy jar of water. He's like, oh, you don't look tired at all. Could you get me something? I mean, it just seems backwards to me, okay? Just a little bit odd, but he says this. His disciples had gone in town to buy food. So he's all alone. He's with her, all alone. She says this is great. Samaritan woman said to him, you are a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink? She said, whoa, time out. There's some boundaries that you're crossing right now, and I don't understand them. There's some stuff happening right now because back then, again, culturally, it's kind of a disconnect for us if we can't put ourselves back there. But if you go back into that time, there were some things that Jesus was doing right now that just didn't happen. First off, as she kind of calls out, Jews don't talk to Samaritans because, again, they don't like each other. They look at each other and they can't stand each other and they don't talk. Second thing is this, men don't talk to women. That's just, again, not how it happened. Nowadays, I mean, that's not a big deal, but back then and there, that was just a cultural no-no. The third thing is Jesus is coming to where she's at. He didn't wait for her back in Jerusalem and say, listen, if she needs help, I'll go, I'll wait, she can come to me. No. He kind of shows up into her world and he starts to engage her in a conversation. He is breaking so many boundaries to go after her. I would just say this. Today you might have showed up and thought it was a normal day. Much like she showed up to the well and thought it's just a normal day. It's a Saturday, it's a Sunday, it's a Tuesday, it's a Monday, whatever that is. I would just say this. I believe that for some people in this room right now, Jesus has shown up in a way that you didn't expect this morning. that he wants to do something in your world. He wants to speak to you in a way and have a conversation that maybe you didn't expect to have today, much like she is saying that. Because the biggest boundary that Jesus is crossing right now is good people don't talk to bad people. We're going to find out. She's got a past. She's got some stuff. She's got some junk. Like some of you got some past. You got some junk. You got some stuff in your world that, you know what? You just, in your world, you can't imagine how a God would want to converse with you. You can't imagine how a God would want to talk to you. You cannot imagine a God that would really want a relationship with you because you know what you think about. You know what you've done. You know your past. It just doesn't make any sense to you. It goes on. Jesus answered her, if you knew the gift of God, who it is that asked you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. He just kind of does this, I call him like Jesus juke kind of moments, whole deal. Like he's talking about one thing, and he's like, oh, I asked you for a drink. No, just, I'm going to change it. Now, you should ask me for a drink. It's kind of a weird kind of moment, but Jesus he's God, so he can get away with it. That's cool. So he kind of does that, and he goes on, verse 11. Sir, the woman said, you have nothing to draw with, and no well is deep. Where can you get this living water? She kind of calls him out. She's like, okay, cool. I'll bite. Okay, you say you got something for me? Cool. You have no bucket, no pail, no jar, nothing. All right, magician. What are you going to do? How are you going to get it up here? I'm playing the game with you. You're talking about living water. I don't quite understand. I don't quite get it all. I just, And then they have this conversation over the next several verses, 13 and 14, where they kind of walk through stuff and they talk about this living water and what it is or whatever. It ends in verse 15. Here's what it says. The woman said to him, sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty. And here's what I want you to see. And have to keep coming here to draw water. She looks at him and says, okay, fine, cool. You've sold me. Give it to me. Because I'm sick of getting up every single morning and deciding, do I go with them or do I not? Do I deal with my shame? Do I deal with my past? Do I deal with my pain? Or do I risk it all and go in the heat of the day and go when no one else? I'm sick of dealing with. Yeah, if you could give me something to where I don't have to make this decision every day, I'm all in. What do you got? He goes on. He told her, go and call your husband and come back. Which again, you read this, especially in modern context, it seems so incredibly insensitive. It seems so like he's talking to her like, hey, you should give me a drink. Okay, I'll give you a drink. No, actually, you should have asked me, and I should have given you a drink. Okay, that's kind of a little bit odd. I've got water. It'll never, make you thirsty again. Okay, cool. I'll take that. Okay, no, go get your husband. It's kind of all these different things. And what Jesus is trying to get to is he's taking her on a journey to get her to a place that he needs to get her. Much like you go on a journey. Many times there's things that happen in your world that you don't quite understand. Maybe there's conversation you even have with God that it just doesn't make sense in the process. And God's trying to get you to a place that he can start to speak to you in a way that he needs to speak to you and deal with some stuff that you don't want to deal with. Because at the end of the day, and here's what I believe for all of us, that God's called you to be a difference maker. But if you don't believe that, if you just kind of look at your world like I believe she's looking at her world going, you don't understand. Me, no, you don't understand. There's some stuff that he has to do, and he's taking her here. He goes on. I have no husband, she replied. I'm single. We're good. I don't need to go back. I'm single. Oh, the single ladies. No, just kidding. That's not what she said at all. All right, verse 18. Jesus said to her, you are right when you say you have no husband. Oh, this is brutal what he's going to say next. The fact is, you have had 5 husbands. Count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 husbands. You've gotten divorced 5 times. And then he just adds insult to injury a little bit and says, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you said is quite true. You're right. You're a mess. You're right. You kind of left a little bit out when you said you're single. But you're single. And not like, oh, I just never got married and I'm a really religious and virtuous person. No. You had 5 husbands. And now you're shacking up with somebody else. And that is her past. That is defining her future. There's a quote from a guy named Pete Wilson. I want to put it up here real quick. I love this. He says, your past is not your past if it's still impacting your present. Your past, the things that happened to you, the things that happened when you were 12 or 10 or 17 or 22 or 35, the things that were said to you or done to you, the things that you did, they're still affecting your present. They're not just in your past, if they're still affecting your present. And for her, this was her. She had had some stuff in her past. She had 5 husbands, and now she's living with the 6th guy, and it's affecting everything. Because listen, let's be honest. I mean, I know we're so evolved right now in today's culture, but back then, women talk. I mean, they don't do that at all right now. But back then, I mean, there was like the whole gossip mill of like, oh, did you hear, Sally? yeah. Nope, 5. Yeah, no, crazy. Nope. I mean, again, we're so much more involved now, but she had to deal with all that stuff. She had to deal with the stigma. She had to deal with issues and past that just some of us cannot even imagine. But to make it worse, this is like a small little tidbit to give you even a little bit more context, but back then, women couldn't get a divorce. So, I mean, like, it's one of those things, like, you read this and kind of go, I mean, if you're kind of like, and maybe some of you are sitting back thinking, well, it's kind of her fault. I mean, she married somebody 5 times, and she kind of left him 5 times. It's kind of her deal, but that's not really the case at all. Actually, it's even worse when you look at it and you think about it, because women couldn't get a divorce back then. It's not like nowadays. Again, different culture. Matter of fact, back then, what would happen is if a man married a woman, he could look at her at any point in time and go, you know what, you no longer please me. I don't like the way you cooked the spaghetti, or I don't like I saw you without makeup on now, or whatever that is, or you've gotten kind of older, just for any reason, and go, hey, here's a little certificate. Stuff's at the door. Bye. Having that happen once would be traumatizing. 5 times. 5 times. I want you to imagine for a second. 5 times, this woman gets up, gets ready for her wedding day, stands in front of her friends and family, says, I do till death do us part. I love him. Goes on the honeymoon, spends time, feels safe, feels secure, and then at some point in time, we don't know the time period, we don't know the history, we don't know what happened, but at some point in time in the whole relationship, the husband looks at her and goes, yeah, you know what? It's just not working for me anymore. Hey, I hope you have a good life, though. Goodbye. Over and over and over and over again. It wasn't a moment. It wasn't just a season for her. It was a trajectory where men in her world kept looking at her going, you don't have the value that you think you do. You don't have the value that you think you do. I don't find you valuable. And so now she's in the 6th relationship going, I just given up. And she's lost hope. She lost the hope that marriage can work. She lost the hope that she could impact anybody. She lost the hope that she is valuable and people would listen to her. And so for her, this whole story starts to come into clarity. It makes perfect sense for her to get up and go, I'm not walking with those people. I'm not walking with those ladies. I'd rather die. I'd rather get maimed. Listen, I'm not going there. I'd rather be sweating in the middle of the day, heat, than deal with the talk, deal with the gossip, deal with the looks, deal with the stuff. Okay, I'm done. No one listens to me. No one cares about me. It doesn't matter. Just leave me alone. She shows up. Jesus starts to meddle, starts to mess, starts to prod, starts to poke a little bit like he does. He starts to get to the deep-rooted things because your past is not your past. It's still impacting your present. Let me just ask you real quickly, what area of your life have you lost hope in? Okay, you may be a very hopeful person. You may be a very happy person. Let me just push you a little bit. What area, though? Not your life, maybe. But is there a part of your life, is there an area of your life that you've just given up hope? Maybe you've given up hope that, you know what, you can never be happy in a relationship. Maybe you've given up hope. Maybe you've just kind of had a series of bad relationships like her, and you just continue to feel like you're being communicated the same thing over and over again. You're not valuable, you're not valuable, you're not valuable, you're not valuable. And you just kind of like, okay, whatever. I can just find somebody who just, listen, I used to have ideals in a relationship of how a guy should treat me or how a girl should treat me, but you know what? If I could just find somebody who's with me, I know they're not perfect, but compromise starts to come in and you lose hope. Maybe it's in your job. You've just been beat down and 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 overlooked and overlooked and overlooked and overlooked in your job. And you're just kind of like, okay, whatever. If I could just get through today, I'm just going to avoid him. I'm just going to not go in there. I'm just not going to ask anymore. I'm not going to ask any more questions. I'm not going to push the envelope anymore. I'm just done. And you just lost hope. Maybe it's with a relationship outside of your spouse. Maybe it's with a kid or a parent or a friend. Maybe it's with trusting people. Maybe you've had a series of friendships that just stabbed you in the back, and you just can't count on them, and it's just easier for you to go, you know what, I know everybody talks about, oh, I have these best friends, and I see them on Facebook, and they all look so good, but you know what, I can't trust people. I'm just done. Just done. Or maybe for some of you, you've had something happen to you. It's just rocked you. It's just messed with your identity, messed with your view of God, messed with whether you understand and believe that God is good or not. It's just going to mess with everything, and it becomes like the all-consuming, all-focus of everything that you do. And you can't get past it. Because that was the defining moment. You have, for some of you, before that event, and you have after that event. And your life before it was very, very different than your life after it. And you've just lost hope. This is where she is. But the beauty of Christmas, and the reason we're here today, and the reason that we're doing this initiative, Let Hope In, is because we really do believe that hope changes everything. That your circumstances are your circumstances. That's not really what fuels you. That's not what drives you. It's so easy to blame them. It's so easy to look at them. It's so easy to point back and go, well, that happened. If that didn't happen, da-da-da. But just like with the boy, it's your hope. Do you really believe that you can make a difference in the world around you? She had given up hope. Let's go on. Next verse. The woman said, I know that the Messiah called Christ is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. Okay? So, hey, I don't know who you think you are. I know one thing. He goes on. Jesus answers her. And Jesus declared, I, the one speaking to you, am he. Me. Yeah, that's me. That's me. Here's why that's important. Because in older culture, in modern day culture, and we still struggle with it today, there was an understanding, view of God that he was angry and mad at us. There was this view of the gods in general, okay, whether you believe in Yahweh the God or Marduk or all the other different gods, that they were somehow angry with us, and everything you do kind of appeases them and makes them good with you. And so she has this interaction with this guy who says, no, I'm God. And he's not judging her. He's not looking, he's calling her out and saying, yeah, we need to deal with this. But he's not looking at her going, yeah, I heard about your husbands. Let me tell you about that. Let me tell you why you shouldn't be doing it. And you're sleeping with some guy and sixth guy right now? Okay, what's your problem? Okay, you know better. He's not giving her a lecture. He's dealing with the past. He's dealing with her pain. He's lovingly having a conversation about it, but he's not judging her the way that everybody understood the gods to do. That the gods are angry and they want to get something from you, and if you can just give enough stuff back, then you might be good with them. But she has nothing to offer him, and he is standing in there and looking at her going, no, I have everything to offer you. But before you can receive it, before you can be who I've called you to be, you've got to deal with your past, and you need to understand. We're good. I know what you think about. I know where you go on the internet. I know what you drink and eat. I know who you've been with. I know what you stole. I know you lied. I know your past. I know. Jesus is saying to her and to you, we're good. And because of that, we have hope that God really is with us and we can impact the world around us. It goes on. Let's go to the last verse. Skip ahead a little bit, Don. It says this, verse 39. She leaves and goes tells town. Many of the Samaritans from that town believed in him because the woman's testimony. It's so huge. Again, we miss it. But because of the woman's testimony, he told me everything I did. Again, culturally back then, women's testimony was worthless. Could not even bring a woman in to testify in court because they had zero value. And Jesus does something in her, and she changes everything. A whole town looks back at that moment and is different, fundamentally changed. Why? Because of her. She goes and changes everything. Hope changes everything. And she goes from the woman who I don't even want to travel with a few women to the well because I want to look to it going, I don't care who talks about me. I don't care what happens. I just got to tell you what happened to me. I got to tell you about this interaction. And you are made the same way. You have things in you that God wants to do. You have areas of your life that God wants you to accomplish. He wants you to impact. He wants you to change. He's put it in your heart, in your desires. But for many of us, we've got some stuff that we need to deal with. We need to go back and we need to have a conversation with God, much like she does. We need to have an interesting kind of introspective relationship conversation between you and God, and you need to allow Him to speak into you and let Him say to you, we're good. Go. Go be who I called you to be. Quit holding on to that moment. Quit holding on to that past. Quit dividing your future and your past in between one moment. Be who I made you to be. I made you to be a difference maker. Be a difference maker. So this season, here's my hope. Here's my prayer for you. Here's my prayer for me, because I need it just as much, is that you would let hope in. That the areas of your life that you've lost hope, and the areas of your life that maybe you even flippantly, sarcastically kind of just sit back and go, is what it is. Can't change it. That in the areas in your past that maybe you've shut off and you said, oh, I dealt with that a while ago and it's not a big deal, it's not affecting me, and it just happened so long that you would just maybe let God start to speak to you again. That this Christmas season you would experience Him in a fresh, tangible, real way. I want to show you that clip again. And we're gonna clip it just in a little bit, but I want to show you just the last two people. And here's what I want you to notice this time. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but I want you to notice their face. Because something fascinating happens. I don't know about you, but when I get pulled over, if I ever get pulled over by a cop, I've never had that experience. But, if I were ever, no, I'm just kidding. When I get pulled over by a cop, police officer, I never think great things. Like, I'm never sitting back going, I bet he's having a bad day. What can I do to motivate him? I've never thought that. I've never thought, I bet he's a really nice guy, right now. I've never thought that. I mean, it's always, here's where I go, okay? I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm scared, I know it's going to cost me, I think he's angry, I think he's mad, not sure how that's going to handle. That is all of my range of emotions, none are positive. Now, that said, I want you to watch their reactions, because they probably start the same way, but it ends very differently. Let's watch this.
How are you? I'm doing good. And the reason I'm stopping is it's the Christmas season right now, and I know there's a lot of bad stuff going on everywhere, and sometimes people just deserve a break. So, Merry Christmas. All right.
Hope changes everything. I was sitting in the front of one of the cruisers, and many times when we pulled somebody over, Lieutenant Phelps, who was just so thankful for our police force, they all did. That was Captain Lowry, who also did an amazing job, but many times he hopped out really quickly and went up there just because you don't want that anxiety, you don't want that stress, you don't want that frustration. So, but one of the times something happened, and it was a gap, put it that way, where we pulled him over, and it felt like, even for me, I mean, I know what's going on, but it felt like, even for me, it felt like an eternity. It felt like Wow, they are freaking out right now. I mean, you've been there. If you laughed, you've been there, okay? Don't lie, okay? It felt forever. And I had this thought. And I hope I can communicate it well today. That is every single one of us every time God pulls us over. That is every single time something bad happens, every single time something goes right, every single time, whether it's external or whether it's internal, whether it's something that happened to us or whether it's something that we did for other people, we get pulled over in life. We're going through life and we're doing just fine, and something happens. Something messes with us. And we instinctively, we think like they thought back then and there. We have not progressed. We are the same. We think, God must be mad. What did I do? I don't want to confess it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to tell anybody. Why? Because I don't want it to cost me anything. I'm just going to ignore it. I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to hope maybe he doesn't notice. I'm going to try to get through it. We misunderstand what God is doing in our lives. And we have anxiety. We have fear. We have anger. We have frustration. Because we're on the sidelines now and we don't know what God's doing. And there's a part of us, there's a part of me that really thinks God wants to get me, that God wants to pull something from me, that God wants to take something, that he's up there, much like they believe God was, that he's angry. He's an angry God who's looking down at creation going, you better not. If you mess that up, if you go there again, if you keep taking that, if you don't fix that relationship, if you don't fix that marriage, if you don't apologize, if you don't, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna pull you over and I'm gonna get you. And that is not our God. We have hope because we have a God who pulled over all of humanity. I said, I need you to pause for a second. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I don't want something from you. I have a gift in the form of my son. I want to give you. So this morning, here's what I want you to walk out with. That wherever you do, wherever you're at, whatever pain you have, whatever past you have, whether it's your fault or somebody else's, whether it's a circumstance or whether it's a situation, whether it's still present, whether it's something that's so long gone, whatever it is, wherever you're at with God, God is not angry. He is not mad. He wants to give you something this Christmas season. He wants you to let hope in, that you can be the difference maker that he's called you to be, that you can have an impact, that you can change the world around you. The reason we're doing this initiative, the reason that we're giving money away, the reason that we got 5 more things we're going to do is not because we're spinning our wheels, but because we believe we are called to be difference maker. I believe that you are called to be a difference maker if you let hope in. Would you all stand with me? Here's what I want to do. Her life was changed because she had a conversation with Jesus. That's it. He didn't pray a prayer over her. He didn't do anything special or magical. Much like the boy who had a realization that they wouldn't send a teacher to teach him nouns and adverbs if he was going to die. I think she had a realization that God wouldn't talk to her and love her and spend time with her if he was angry and done with her. So we're going to sing another song. But during that song, I want to invite you, if you need hope, if you've got a situation that you need maybe God to speak to you, maybe everything's good. There's nothing wrong, but it's just kind of like, man, I feel like I need to have a conversation with God. I feel like I need to do something. I want to invite you to come forward. We have people that will pray with you. We would love to partner with you, but my hope, don't miss this Christmas season. Don't miss the reason we celebrate the birth of Christ, which is no matter what, we all have hope.